Joseba. Thank you very much for being here and for doing this interview with me.
Thank you, Florence.
My first question is around, of course, the Basque Artificial Intelligence Center that you're working on or working with. Can you tell us about it? And from what I also understand, it's not the center, but perhaps an ecosystem.
Exactly, that's the point. This comes, let's say, to the year 2015-16, where we saw that artificial intelligence was a technology that was promising a lot in certain verticals, in different industries. And we had some, let's say, strategic thinking about what was the value proposition of artificial intelligence and the future technologies to be developed on areas like the Industry 4.0, energy, health, and so on. So we came up with the idea that, I mean, here, the Basque Country is a very industrial area. Industry is very different from machine tooling to the industries related with the energy sector and so on. So we came with the idea that we needed some space to collaborate, somewhere to collaborate, because we have many different groups working on R&D and innovation, the applicability of these technologies to different industries, but we were working sometimes together, sometimes competing each other. So we came up with the idea that we needed something different. To the point that during 2020, the Basque government took the lead and determined that we needed something new in the form of an alliance. And the Basque Artificial Intelligence Center, the name center tends to think that there is a building, there is some employees. Well, actually, it's an alliance, it's an ecosystem, where anyone that joins the ecosystem has some rights, but mainly has many obligations to cooperate. And here the idea is that we work together, sometimes competing, sometimes collaborating, but we need to find ways so that the value of artificial intelligence and what we do in the different labs, because we have certainly a number of labs here in the Basque Country working on the applicability of certain techniques, is applicable to the companies working here in the industrial, the energy sector, and also it gives let's say, some advantage in the market. So the main topic here is not really about doing more R&D, because we do a lot of R&D here. It's mainly about working together. So it's about a view of lab of labs. We have researchers, we have labs, we have to federate, syndicate somehow these labs, and that's what we are doing. So that when companies look for value in what we do in the terms of R&D, we go more to the we jump from the state of the art, which means R&D, to the state of the practice, what the companies need and what they need to have some advantage in the market.
You touch upon lab of labs, which is very interesting. So perhaps accompanying the experimentation also of the companies and finding ways to collaborate together. At Enlit, we are curious, what is BAIC working on at the moment or experimenting on? What can we expect from all this?
Well, what we are doing mainly right now is focused on short and medium-term needs of the companies, especially those ones working on the energy sector. And here we have to take into account that there are many challenges that need some kind of prediction. And prediction is one of the hot topics in artificial intelligence. We are already used to the prediction of the weather. So we all know if it will rain tomorrow or not. But and climate models are really, really challenging and difficult. But let's think that we can apply prediction to a larger scale to how the utilities work or how the different networks and systems of the utilities, how they work together. So prediction is one of the hot topics, and we are doing I wouldn't say experiments, because many of the projects are already live and you know, giving some advantage to the companies working in this value chain. The other one is optimization. In optimization, what we have is the mathematical model behind the artificial intelligence. We know what the result has to be, so we need to find the entries, the inputs. And optimization is a topic that has been there in the world of in the area of artificial intelligence for decades, I would say. It's one of the hot, one of the classic topics, I would say. But optimization in such a challenging and complex world as the energy sector is today, with all the flexibility required and so on, requires new approaches that sometimes it's quite curious, but the approaches don't come from the energy sector. Sometimes we find that some approaches from the finance sector, from the Industry 4.0 sector, from the logistics sectors are the ones that really make a difference in the energy sector. And last but not least, explicability of artificial intelligence, because this is a highly regulated sector. So it's not enough with having a black box artificial intelligence that suddenly gives an operator, well, this is how you have to optimize your distribution network, or I'm going to give you a prediction on the demand side. No, I mean, black boxes have a problem, and is that what they give to the human operator or to the other machine that is going to get this input, a black box is not allowed in many of the regulations behind this world. So you need techniques that are specific and address the challenge of explicability. So whatever the model has given, it has to be explainable. If it is not explainable, then the regulation would stop the usage of this kind of black boxes.
Interesting. Can I ask you also around talents and attracting and retaining talents? I think it's perhaps a growing concern and a big headache also, perhaps. How do you see that, and how do you try to overcome this?
I think this sector, the energy sector, has two very, let's say, I would say, attractive angles for the job. One is about sustainability. You know, we have a generation that is growing with the idea that technologies need to be sustainable. And the other one is about, let's say, the technical challenges behind this kind of worlds. A few years ago, I was in a congress it was a congress of universities in Spain working on computer science. And before me, I had somebody talking about cybersecurity in the IT domain and how it was a hot topic and they needed the students to focus on these companies. So I jumped to the stage. I wasn't planning to do that, but since this guy was talking about IT, I was talking about cybersecurity in the OT space, in the operational technologies that are behind, I mean, all the distribution and networks and the smart grid networks we have. And I told them that if they wanted to have, for example, good salaries and a good career, it was much better to go studying the protocols and technologies behind OT and not the ones behind IT, because there are few specialists on OT technologies. And after this congress, I got some input from some students asking me via Twitter about which protocol are you talking about, the companies, and blah, 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 blah. So I think that this sector has a potential to get in touch with the youth from these two angles. One is the sustainability, and sustainability comes from the smart application of artificial intelligence techniques for optimization, for cybersecurity, for the different challenges that we have. And the second one is about the attractive that these technologies have and how they are differential to other ones that are like more, let's say, they have a wider audience. But I think that the students should be aware that behind OT, there are huge opportunities for them to have a career and to have good jobs, and even to create a startup and be a player in the next 10 years.
You were talking also earlier about the data economy, which is growing, of course, data sharing, data storing, virtual, cloud, you name it, and the importance of data technologies within this new economy. Can you tell us a bit more about it? And also, do you think that Europe is ready for this new economy?
I'm going to start from the last part. Is Europe ready? I think so. I think that there are always ups and downs. Certainly in Europe, now we're in a down, because in the last 10, 15 years, we have seen how some hyperscalers from outside the European area, they have taken 80% of the cloud market, for example, in Europe. Now, this goes a lot for personal data, we know, not for industrial data. But for the next 10, 15 years, we are going to see that all the industrial data is going to be also somewhere in different clouds, hybrid clouds, private, public, mixed among them. I think Europe is ready, and Europe has to do it. And I'm sure that we will do it. So, but of course, it's not a matter of stopping or protectionism, or as I heard last week from the CEO of OVH Cloud, is one of the largest cloud service providers in the world. French, by the way, he said that sovereignty is not about protectionism, it's about the freedom to choose. So we need in Europe to have the freedom to choose among different companies from different geographies. It's completely illogical that the only choice comes from abroad. And by the way, has certain obligations about laws that are not European. So I think that Europe has a chance and will do it. And now I'll go to the beginning of your question. I hate when people say that data is the new oil, because that's wrong, sorry, that's very naive. Nobody can go to Saudi Arabia, I can't go to Saudi Arabia, extract oil and take it to my home, no way. I mean, it's in a country. Same happens with data. Data is in the remit of the companies, and data has an owner. So what we need to do is create the technologies. Technologies are being created. What we need to do is apply the technologies that allow companies to share data, but not in the way of I'm giving you data for free. I'm going to monetize my data. I'm going to give you my data. If you need my data for something that it benefits to me, or if I can make some benefit out of my industrial data, not personal data. So I think that there is, it is true, however, that there is no artificial intelligence without data. And if we want to have a good value artificial intelligence in the industrial area, we need not only the data that we have in our own data centers, the different companies, but we need data from the value chain. And for that, there are technologies, and what we have to do is use them.
I have one last question, a bit more personal perhaps, but what are your ambitions with the center?
My ambition would be that if we look backwards in 2032, in 10 years, we see that, well, this has let's say, a Basque scope in the Basque country. I would be very happy just to say that in the Basque country, we have a number of companies working on the field of the energy transition or the energy revolution, as it has been said here before, that really make an impact by applying artificial intelligence techniques that come out from this lab of labs. If we are able to succeed in a way that somebody can say that, you know, we are one of the hidden champions in case of a medium or small scale enterprise, or if we have a large company like Iberdrola that is making something completely new and is able to apply this flexibility or these optimization techniques and overcome these challenges and make, for example, sustainability something, let's say, less difficult from an engineering perspective, based on artificial intelligence techniques developed by this set of labs, I would be very happy.
Good. Well, thank you very much for sharing all your insights and for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much.